I think it's getting better. If you go back, I mean, I look at things because of my age over a longer stretch. So you go back to the 1960s, President Kennedy in the early 60s sharply escalated the war against Indochina, turned into a murderous war against all of Indochina, millions of people killed, countries destroyed. Kennedy sharply escalated it, started authorizing US planes to bomb South Vietnamese rural population, instituted chemical warfare to destroy crops and livestock, started major programs to drive the rural population into basically concentration camps. The claim was to protect them from the guerrillas who US intelligence knew they were supporting, authorized napalm. You could barely get two people in a room together to talk about it. We're doing it, must be right, you know. It took years before you could get any protest started. Couldn't have public, I was in Boston, probably the most liberal city in the country. We couldn't have public demonstrations because they'd be broken up by violence, by students often. Had a meeting in a church would get attacked. They couldn't criticize our war, which was destroying South Vietnam, later all of Indochina. Well, it changed. It's very different now. By the late 60s, substantial popular movement had developed. By now, it's much more free. So there's improvements over time, not anywhere near enough, but significant. And incidentally, to just add something, the improvements didn't come by magic. They weren't gifts. They were the result of mostly young people roughly your age, who took very courageous and difficult stands and suffered for it. Many of them ended up in prison, but they did manage to bring about a substantial change in many topics, not just opposition to the war. Take something like women's rights. Didn't exist in the 1960s. Became a major issue, not enough, but significant through the activities of mostly young people, firstly young women and others who joined them, made a big difference. It's happened in a lot of areas.